Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I'm your Loremaster, and this video will probably have a lot of puns about biting and such, but we're not going to start off with an easy pun. Welcome to Monster Month, where all October we will be synthesizing in one place all information on some of the classic monsters as they stand currently on Golarion. This week, we are starting strong with the only monster this month that had not been covered recently. In any official sources, of course. The Lycanthrope. Seriously, when I was planning this a year ago, I knew Book of the Dead was going to mess with some of my choices, since they were obvious, but then one of the adventure paths just had to add 2 new eggs recently as well, so. But we can worry about those coming up. Today, this video is going to dogs. Lycanthropes, or more commonly whale creatures, are beings represented the world over. From the Nargles, also known as were-jaguars, which were of great importance to the Mesoamerican cultures, to African witches with the power to turn into hyenas, to berserkers' ability to go wild in battle compared to animals like wolves and bears. Such creatures can be found at all corners. It should be noted that the term lycanthropy, when used properly, refers to only werewolves, lycan being Latin for wolf. But modern popular culture has used it as a scientific sounding name for all whale creatures, and so will be what we are using today as we dive into Golarion's packs. First, before we look at the different kinds of lycanthropes, let's start with the most basic. How does one become a lycanthrope? There are a few different ways. The most famed way is through infection, being attacked by a lycanthrope and changing on the first full moon unless you find a way to treat it before then. However, others are born with it, passed on from their cursed family members, and at that point it is not treatable, but a natural part of them. The demon lord of werewolves, Giselda, who we will be getting to later on in this video, also has the power to grant others her gift. Finally, one unusual place is the hero deck of many things, with one of the possibilities as being turned into a whalebear, which is considered a neutral draw overall, as an unusual placement for a curse, but we'll be getting to why in a few moments. We are starting with the rare creatures known to lean evilly, and with the one everyone knows. Werewolves are the big lycanthropes in our world, so it is not hard to imagine every other rare creature is built with them in mind. Werewolves live in packs, because lone wolves tend to be stupid and get themselves killed. They have a strict leader to the pack, and a pack lord if more than one pack makes an area their home. Since these are the most popular of lycanthropes, these are going to have the most variety in their stories, and they're most likely to go through the traditional looking for a cure to my affliction and fighting their endless bloodlust storylines. However, they also show that the typical is not always the true. While many werewolves give in to their worst impulses, there are stories of good werewolves, usually referred to as the Hounds of Good, who use their curse as a way to help people. Not that typical people care about differentiating between good and evil or shooting second. Then we have the second one, which is mere of a real lycanthrope, were-tigers. Tigers are solitary creatures, and this is matched in the egomania and self-centeredness of their paizo counterparts. They act alone, but they tend to act differently from the others we'll see today. They instead put themselves in positions of leaders, taking over an area and ruling over it through a combination of fear and power, only hunting mortals every few months to crush the scent and stoke fear. Wait a second. Are we talking about whale creatures or Rakshasa. They're actually similar in how they operate, except a were-tiger has the ability to create more of themselves with the curse. However, solitary creatures, were-tigers usually only change others so as to fulfill some task before either exiling them or killing them. Overall, one of the most patient were-beasts, but nowhere near harmless. Next on the list is the threats known as werebats. Werebats are considered one of the most dangerous of the lycanthropes, not due to their strength like the were-tiger, but that, unlike the were-tiger, they are social creatures. So social, in fact, they'll make a goal out of converting others. They tend to flock around one central leader, often referred to as a werebat master, and do everything they can to follow their master's desires. Because of this heavy social structure, it is very rare to find a werebat alone, and doing so either means the rest of their flock was wiped out in a disaster of some kind, or you better get away fast before the others show up. Another group of creatures known for being in a pack are rats. They live in urban areas and deeply in secret. To the point, other lycanthropes appear to be working to get themselves away compared to these insular creatures. They operate as field guild or gangs, hiding in plain sight in the underbelly while still dissociating from their true identities. These creatures are among some of the weakest were creatures, but what they lack in courage, they make up for with overwhelming numbers, and they can easily sink the opposition under a tide of cutthroats if necessary. Next, we return to the Moragni, and the rest of Grund at that matter, and discuss the local were-crocodile. They come in two flavors. Deep in the jungle where people know them the best, the were-crocodile are more calculating and seductive with their prey. In the farther reaches, like the Shackles to the west and the Golden Road to the north, violence is still the name of the game. Anyway, skulls are an excellent way to create furniture and accessories. They are territorial creatures, content in living in their own regions, and are more interested in tearing prey to pieces than making more of their own. However, if the challenge of more powerful prey is presented to them, they are not opposed to a little bit of travel. Those five are majorly evil were creatures. Next, let's go with some that tend to end up more on the neutral scale. Going with another example we have from our own myths. The European wereboar, also known as the lycanthrope who all hate the fact they are pigs. They tend to be known for having quite a temper, which does lend many of them to be bandits and control villages. But they are also the were creature most likely to become adventurers instead of staying in one place brooding. They have strong loyalties to their families, and will often infect those they fall in love with their curse in order to forever bind them together, often with the expected results. Whale sharks tend to be more, well, accepted is not the right word. Praised, respected. Either way, these dominators of the deep enforce control of their territory through fear, but tend to do so with a kind of fairness. If fairness brought about by control of sharks and bloody battles between their own kind to enforce their territories counts as fair. They believe they have the natural right as sharks to lord over all other sea creatures, and some land creatures as well, and they will collect as much treasure to bask in as they can, especially magical items. We have had masters of land and sea, but the air belongs to the were-raptors. Appearing as a particular kind of raptor, as in hawks, vultures, eagles, and the like, they are the most diverse of the lycanthropes. They have enhanced senses like vision and hearing, and are as nimble as can be, which of course makes them known for being expert hunters. They serve as self-imposed outcasts, but they are also the were creatures who take the most interest in civilization over the wild, and the ones you're most likely to run into going around town instead of the wilderness. That said, they are territorial creatures, which can lead to clashes between them if it happens that their territory will overlap. And finally, we have the werebear, another one we have in myths in our world, mostly corresponding to northern lands in Europe and the Americas. Werebears are the only lycanthrope which is unequivocally good. Though just like werewolves can help others, werebears can lose their control. They associate with druids and clerics, and work to protect nature from the influx of civilization. They prefer to walk the world alone, but will always be there as a family to raise children. After all werebears are family. So that is lycanthropes. But let's quickly cover a close cousin to them, the entrothropes. These are the same kind of creature, except they are a variety of insects. Outside of being insectoid, there is no difference between the regular lycanthrope curse, except of course that the transformation is connected to the new moon instead of the full moon. We currently know 4 kinds of these creatures. Were mantises, who often isolate themselves alone like monks, though they do form brief and intense romances with others before, well, eating their mate's head. Mantises. Where spiders prefer strength in numbers, and are known for employing a web of spies and informants, themselves of course at the center. Where wasps we have little to no information on actually, though they seem to be connected with the faith of Calistria, as one would expect. Finally, were ants prefer to be part of a group, and are known to work tirelessly. There's all the examples we have actually seen before, but we have others which were mentioned in the past. Were leopards are usually found in the region of Catapesh and Nex, while were hyenas claim Osirian and Tuvia as their homes. Dipping our hands into myth and rumors, where ravens are also said to be good aligned were-beasts. There have been legends of dwarves and gnomes becoming were-badgers since the beginning of time, and likewise elves as well foxes. All interesting varieties I would love to see one day myself. Now that we have gone through the various kinds of lycanthropes and entrothropes you can be bitten by, what do you do if you are bitten? If a combination of remove disease and remove curse are used within 3 days, you will not be turned. Many herbalist remedies also exist, though with the caveat most of them are poisonous in the wrong doses and could potentially kill you. Not to mention that they do not work on anyone naturally born with the curse of curse. Though of course folk remedies exist, though most of them actually being forms of torture which do not fulfill anything except giving those who hate another person an excuse to cause them unneeded pain. Hello, conversion therapy. And to end things off, almost every one of these episodes of Monsters Month will have worship of a related monster, because it is me. Today we are only dealing with one deity, the only one confirmed worshipped by any lycanthropes, which is Giselda, demon lord of desolation, the moon, and werewolves. Giselda has 3 forms: a beautiful dark-haired Vassarian woman, a giant wolf, or the traditional amalgam of the two. Though in all forms she has curled demonic horns. She is also known to be able to shift between the 3 at rapid speed. There are many religious texts which say Giselda was the first werewolf, but her faith does not go that far, only hinting at her origins. should be known, of course, that she is patron of werewolves. She despises all other were creatures. Either way, many of her worshippers hunt and turn those chosen by the church in yearly rituals of deceit. Her domain is the Moonbog, a swampy countryside in the abyss where the moon always sits in the sky. Mortal souls tend to be harvested and trapped here for the purpose of being prey to the demon lord and her pack. And that is all the lycanthropes we currently have, along with some additional information we have on the beasts. But of course the party is just getting started. I love October for obvious reasons, and I'm looking forward to bringing monsters to your doorstep. Actually, I had the inspiration for this month a year ago when I was doing the last set of videos in October as a more organized monthly event. And I'm glad to be finally doing this. Next week, we have more puns on biting, so do take the opportunity to stop by it for a while. You are definitely invited in.